Sleep optimization. So many people struggle with sleep for either a short period of time or a long period of time, and throughout your life, you are going to go through phases where you get really, really good sleep when perhaps stress is lower and we're in a little bit more of a comfortable environment. And we will go through times where, unfortunately, stress is higher and we're in an uncomfortable environment. And that's just the way life is. But today we are going to be covering how to optimize our sleep and how to really get the most out of the time where we are trying to restore our body and improve our recovery. And ultimately, our performance, our cognitive performance, and our physical performance too. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is get into the little slideshow. So, the importance of sleep. We know that sleep is when our body begins to shut down and restore its metabolic processes and its damaged tissues, restore any sort of tissues that need attention. This is when sleep comes into play. We don't actually grow when we're in the gym. We actually grow when we're in our sleep. And that sounds a little bit cliche, but it's true. Because sleep, we actually see, nitty gritty or not. Yeah, let's do it. Well, we see growth hormone levels increase. We see our pressure slightly decrease, our heart rate slightly decrease. That puts us into a parasympathetic state. And we know in order to those muscles, we need to be in a parasympathetic state. But also, for us to grow new muscle tissue or grow new muscle tissue more effectively, we release growth factor 1, which allows with the uptake of but the uptake of proteins and can also make us store some more fat. So if we actually don't have enough sleep, we see insulin levels and insulin sensitivity get worse, which then means that we require more insulin to then absorb the glucose that is in our bloodstream, and therefore, if we require more insulin, we actually gain more fat, because we know insulin is anabolic, but can also make us gain fat. Yeah, so if we look at it from both sides of the story, sleep is so important because it produces growth hormone, our natural growth hormone, but also it's important that we do get enough to improve our insulin sensitivity, to then improve the uptake of carbohydrates and glucose and amino acids, so then we don't have to produce too much insulin, which then causes us to gain. That's why we see a lot of people who have really, really poor sleep. They tend to gain weight a lot quicker because their insulin levels are higher and their insulin sensitivity is a lot lower. We also know that sleep is great for improving our cognitive performance, our cognitive function. We remember things become ingrained into us. So sleep is just so important. It's going to help us with our performance, with our recovery, with our cognitive, but also it's going to help improve our hunger as well. So linking back onto sort of like the muscle gain and the fat gain as well with sleep deprivation, we sleep so we can have more energy. But what happens when we don't sleep? We've got less energy. But then how do we get more energy? We then eat. So leptin levels decrease when we're sleep deprived and ghrelin levels increase. That's why we are so hungry after a shit night's sleep and we don't know when to stop, because leptin is reliable for making us feel full. So too much sleep or the right amount of sleep can give us growth hormone, can make sure that our hunger hormones are regulated, can make sure that insulin, we still remain insulin sensitive. We go into the next day full of energy, whereas too little sleep can have adverse effects. We don't have as much growth hormone. We don't have as good insulin sensitivity. We have more hunger, which then means we overeat, etc. So that's why most people who have bad eating habits tend to have poor sleep as well. They sort of go hand in hand. And I'm not saying that everybody who has poor sleep has bad eating habits and vice versa, but generally we see them both, they sort of intertwine, because less discipline with sleep can sometimes lead to less discipline with your food. How much sleep do we actually need? We recommend between 7 to 8 hours. Sometimes we might not get 7 hours, we might only get 6, and then we can look at getting a 30-minute nap in for physical benefits, or a 45-minute nap in for more the cognitive benefits. And the reason why we have these different sort of durations is because we've got two different stages of sleep. We've got our REM sleep and our non-REM sleep. So in non-REM sleep, that's non-rapid eye movement sleep. That's where we're in a deep sleep, and those tend to be in our earliest stages of our sleep. So that's when we are just sort of drifting asleep, you know, like the first sort of 90 minutes of each, the first sort of 60, 70 minutes of our sleep cycle. But our REM sleep is rapid eye movement sleep. And what rapid eye movement sleep does is, if you actually, it's a little bit weird, but if you open someone's eye while they're sleeping, we have little flickers just like so. And our body goes into temporary paralysis. Our heart rate increases ever so slightly, blood pressure increases ever so slightly, and this actually improves our cognitive ability. So REM sleep is more for the brain and memory, whereas non-REM sleep is more for improving our physical and improving our physical recovery. Yeah, so throughout the night, let's just say we're sleeping for 8 hours. We might only have, a sleep cycle is around 90 minutes. We might only have 5 minutes of REM sleep in our first sleep cycle. In our second sleep cycle, we might have 10 minutes. Third, we might have 15. Fourth, we might have 30. And fifth, if that's right, is that right? Oh no, there'll be 6, won't there? So the fifth, we might have 35. The sixth, we might have 45. So our REM sleep, the amount of REM sleep that we actually get in each sleep cycle, increases. And that's why whenever you wake up in the morning, sometimes you can be in quite a deep sleep, like a dream, because the chance of us being in a REM sleep later on, after more and more sleep cycles, is a lot greater. Yeah. So to break that down, the first stages of sleep are what we call a light sleep, medium sort of sleep, and a deep sleep. Yeah. That's when we are restoring physically. That's when we're recovering. Then when we go into a REM sleep, that's when we are more recovering our mind and ingraining that intelligence inside of us, if you've got any. So if we think about how much sleep do we need, well, it depends what your sort of goal is, because you could get away realistically with having 6 or 7 hours of good sleep and then just having 30-minute naps if your goal is to bodybuild, as long as you're still getting in that 8 hours. But if you're sitting behind a desk and you're having to take in a load of information, you're having to show up great at work, I'd be recommending trying to get a full 7 or 8 hours so you can really make the most of that REM sleep period and restoring mentally. Yeah, so general rule of thumb, 7 to 8 hours, and if you need 30 minutes for a physical restorative sleep or 45 plus minutes for more of a mentally restorative sleep. How can we improve our sleep? So sleep is very, in fact, what I'll do is I'm going to put myself on big screen. We've got a few different ways to improve our sleep. The first way is to improve our sleep-wake times and get more of a structure with our sleep-wake times. So if you're waking up at 6 a.m. Monday to Friday and then 8 a.m. on a Saturday and Sunday, your body doesn't know when to start firing up its cylinders. Yeah, it's like, right, I need to start doing it on 6 a.m. Then Saturday, Sunday comes, and it's like 6 a.m. comes. It's trying to go, but you're still asleep. So if we can get into a good routine of waking up at the same time, it then means that your body can start its body clock at the same time every day, which then means it can digest its food better. It can start producing the correct hormones at the correct times. And if you go to bed at the same time, it then means that it can start producing those sleepy hormones, melatonin, at the correct times as well. And because you've got a more of a structured sleep-wake cycle, your body, it will know when it needs to wake up, when it needs to go to sleep. And when you do go to sleep, because it knows it should be asleep rather than up wide awake, it can then actually focus on restoring and recovering. If you're going to bed late on a weekend, let's say 11, 12 o'clock, but you're going to bed at 9 o'clock during the week, your body for the first few hours might be like, right, I might be needing to get up now, but actually it's trying to sleep. So your body loves routine, and that's why when you've got the best routine, you tend to perform the best, and you tend to sleep the best, and you eat the best, because routine is absolutely key. The second way is blue. Blue light is good, and it's also bad. So we want to increase blue light exposure throughout the day, at different times of the day, and we want to limit blue light exposure as it starts to get dark. So you're not doing what I'm doing. It's 9 o'clock at night, I'm sat in front of a really bright light, sat in front of a really bright MacBook, and getting in a ton of blue light, because this is not going to be great for my sleep, but needs must. Do as I say, not as I do. That's what I like to say. But we know blue light reduces the amount of melatonin that our body can produce. And melatonin is needed, as mentioned, to get to sleep and stay asleep. So if we've got less melatonin, it then means that we aren't going to sleep as good. So we want to increase our melatonin production by decreasing the amount of blue light exposure to maybe 3 hours before we go to sleep. So how can we do that? Well, if you go onto your phone, you can put on night shift, which changes the colour of your screen to like an orangey colour, which takes away the blue light. You can get some blue light blocking glasses, which I haven't got at my desk, unfortunately. I've got some here actually. One sec. In fact, you know what? Let's wear them. Just to improve the sleep. They're a little bit dirty, just because I'm not normally working this late. But glasses block the blue light. The clue is in the name. And that then allows the production of melatonin, and therefore allows us to get to bed and stay asleep when we are in bed. There we go. So, oh no, you can see the glare. I'm going to take them off. I'm going to ruin my sleep just for the video. The next one. So, these two here, they're linked to getting ourselves into a parasympathetic state. So a warm shower chills us out, makes us feel relaxed. A cool, dark room makes us feel relaxed, because we're going from a hot environment to a cold environment. We know that our body needs to drop 2 or 3 degrees in order to get to its optimal temperature as such. And if it does that, it then means that it can start to switch off and get into its deeper stages of sleep. That's why whenever you go abroad, it's really, really hot, or when we have the heat wave, it's really hot, you struggle to sleep because your body can't drop its core body temperature as easy because you've not got a cool room. And that's why you struggle when it's really light outside and it's light right late at night. So blackout curtains and try and get some aircon or, a fan or something like that. A little bit of white noise is also good. Carbs and water. So how many of you find yourself getting up in the middle of the night, going to the toilet, etc.? If you do that, try and limit your water maybe 2 or 3 hours before bed. So get all your water intake from when you wake up, 2 and 3 hours before bed, try and get it all in. With carbs, And protein, I should have added there. We know that protein, when it gets broken down into amino acids. And one of the amino acids, tryptophan, is and is then converted into serotonin, if I remember rightly. And then serotonin is then what allows us to create melatonin, and then melatonin allows us to fall asleep. I'm sure that is the pathway that it takes. And the reason why, if you have turkey is really high in tryptophan. If you have turkey, like a turkey dinner this Christmas, you can then fall asleep straight away after, because you've had carbs, but you've also had a load of turkey. So you've had a load of tryptophan, which has then been converted into serotonin, then melatonin, that makes you fall asleep. So ideally, what you want is a handful of carbs, maybe 50 to 60, maybe even a little bit more grams of carbs, and then a serving of protein just before you go to bed, which is going to have another spike in muscle protein synthesis. It's going to help with recovery, etc. And it's going to allow us to sleep, because we're going to go to bed feeling satiated, and we're not going to wake up in the middle of the night feeling hungry either. So that's pretty much everything that you need to sort of think about. It's about lowering stress, getting yourself into a parasympathetic state, so chilling yourself out. You can use supplements such as ashwagandha, KSM-66, magnesium biglycinate, zinc. You could use those supplements, but ideally, we'd look at improving these first, and then we'd look at adding in some of those supplements after to further improve our sleep quality. And that is optimization. I do get quite into it when I speak about sleep, because it's something that really, really does fascinate me, and something that I really do enjoy speaking about. So I hope I've not sort of overwhelmed you with everything, but fingers crossed I've not missed anything and you've got everything that you need. So I will be making a lot more of these in the future, and if there's anything that you do want to see, then just let me know and I will be sure to make it. Thank you. Bye bye.